to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic. The first thing I'm going to say is Happy New Year to everybody around the world. I'm sure you had a marvellous time bringing in the new year. If you were like me and you had a quiet affair, that's okay too. It's the time of the year I think that we should do what pleases us. And as I've got more mature, I've realised that I don't necessarily need to go out and listen to loud music to have a good time on New Year's Eve. I'm quite happy to sit at home and watch some of my favourite music. So anyway, let's kick the show off this week with the first Simply Tarot card of the year. And I'm going to warn you, it's not going to be something that you're going to say, oh, wow, that's an amazing card. People are going to go, oh, no, we didn't start the year with that. But I'll explain more as we go along. Okay, so the first Simply Tarot card of the year is the Devil. Now, the Devil sort of conjures up things like jealousy and trouble, and people sort of think, oh, no, I don't want a year of jealousy and trouble. It doesn't mean that. Well, it can mean that. It can mean that. That's one of the meanings of the Devil card is jealousy and trouble, but it's also more importantly about being able to break the chains that are holding you back. Now, that's why I think it's such a significant card to start the year off, that we're in a position that we can break the chains, we can remove any restrictions, any obligations that we don't want anymore. The power is within our hands to be able to make the changes and the choices that we wish to bring in for 2024. When you look closely at the card, the chains are only loosely around their neck. They're not actually tied. They are tied together by a chain and, a circle loop at the bottom of the Devil's feet. But, he's not really controlling them. Maybe sometime the Devil's in the detail, or the Devil is, one of us, parts of us sort of saying, oh, do this, and the other part sort of being a bit like an angel and saying, no, 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 we're going to be good. So maybe it's about bringing in balance into your life, and that way you can avoid jealousy and trouble. And, jealousy is one of those things I found throughout my time here on earth that, sometimes you don't even aware of it's happening around you, that somebody can be jealous of you for many different reasons. And quite often it's because you make something look very easy. And when you make something look easy, people sort of tend to get a little bit of the green eyes about them and sort of think, oh, everything always comes to that person easily. Look how easy it is for them. And it's not always that at all. They don't realise the hard work, the effort, the going without, the sort of the long hours or whatever that have gone in behind this to make it look easy. So the next time you feel a little bit green-eyed towards somebody and think that they've got it easy, maybe just stop, look and listen and think about how much it might have taken them to get to that point and how much effort you would have to put in to make your life to be the same as theirs. And maybe then it's not what you really want. So let's make 2024 a very positive year. We are all able to break any chains that are holding us back. This is the year of opportunity, luck and expansion, so let's not waste it. I think this is a very positive card to start the new year, and I'm actually quite excited about it. So we're going to kick the astrology report off for the year. And for those of you that might be new to the show and haven't seen my show before, I always start with the card of the week. I designed that set of Simply Tarot cards back in 2003, so they've been around for quite a while now, and they were based on the Rider-Waite set. And I always do a little astrological report, and I don't necessarily break it down by the 12 signs. What I do is I look at the transits or where the planets are moving to at this moment, just minutes before the show. I write up my report on my whiteboard of what I'm going to talk about astrologically, and in that way that's the best, most up to the minute forecast that I can give you, when I bring up the highlights of what it is and I explain to you which signs are going to be affected and why. And it gives all of us a guideline of what's happening right at this second in the universe. I like to call it the Polaroid photograph of the universe. So the sun is still in Capricorn at the moment, so happy birthday to all the Capricorns. It will still be there for a little while yet. So this is the time of the year where we start to put our focus, particularly after the new year, back into business, back into things that we want to achieve. Lots of people sort of put down their, or say their New Year's resolutions, and they're very determined they're going to stick to them this year, and they do it with great gusto, and particularly with a glass of something bubbly in their hand at midnight. And look, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I like to sort of look at the year's got to be a work in progress. So let's kick it off right with the sun in Capricorn. Now, this will affect each and every of the 12 signs. It's not just for Capricorns. It's a time to get your affairs in order. It's a time to look at things that might need your attention. Have you got any outstanding accounts that need to be paid? Are there things that you maybe need to look at or change? Are you happy with the utility companies that you're using, the phone company, those sort of things? Are you happy with the company that you've got your insurance with? It might be time to shop around and try and get a better deal. And the same can be said for where we bank our finances too. Maybe it might be time to change banks. It's a time to really revise and look at all the things that are important in our lives and things that are important to us, and also make sure that you've got your medical appointments up to date, your dentist, doctors, those sort of things. It's a time to plan. It's a time to sort of put down the foundations for the next 12 months. Let's get a good plan happening. Sometimes people find it's a great time of the year to start a new budget, sit down and look at what finances you've got, what expenses you've got, and how you can sort of start to get on top of those bills that sometimes mount up too quickly. And for many of us, we overspend in the silly season, as we like to call it here in Australia. Over the holidays, festive season, for some reason or another, we all take our credit cards for a nice little drive down Rodeo Drive and spend far too much money. So it's now time we've got to look at how we're going to repay that. So it's a time to get ourselves organised. And yes, it's particularly more so for Capricorns because it's their birthday month. It's their time to shine. But for the rest of the 11 signs, we can sort of learn from this Capricorn energy about being able to get ourselves organised for the year. And it makes your life much easier to contend with the things that might come up during the year if you've got a plan of attack, if you're organised, if you've got a budget, if you know exactly, when you've got medical appointments and things like that coming up, particularly if there's something that needs to be done periodically, not just your generalised trip to the doctor because you're feeling unwell, but you might have ongoing health issues that need attention. So let's plan them out. Let's get organised. Make 24 a year of where we're all organised, and that takes a little bit of stress off people. Then when something unexpected comes up, we know how we can shuffle things around them because we've got a plan. We've already got things in the plan and we know how to move forward. So the sun is actually trining, and a trining aspect in astrology means it's 120 degrees or approximately 120 to 127 degrees from one planet to another. So the sun is actually making a beautiful aspect or trining Uranus sitting in Taurus at the moment. So general rule of thumb is if it's one's in an earth sign, the second planet will be in an earth sign as well, because that's the 120 degree angle. So Uranus is the planet of the unusual and the unexpected. Now, this applies to all the 12 signs. It's a time now that we can start making some great inroads into the things that we want to bring into our life. Now, Uranus brings things of sudden. It can be like the bolt of lightning. It can bring things out of nowhere. So now is the time, if you've got anything on an official level, particularly if it's connected with work or finances or money, that you need to get sort of sorted out, or you want to apply for a new job, or you want to apply for a new loan, now is perfectly the time to do so. But make sure that you're very prepared. If you're going for a new job, make sure that you understand what the company's about, do some research so that you look intelligent and interested at the job interview, have a list of questions that you might want to ask, that you might want to ask about the job, you might want to ask about the company, so that you look well organized and well informed, and that you are interested in the job. The same principle can be applied if you're going to apply for a bank loan. You might need a business loan or a personal loan. Make sure you go in there with the reasons why. This is how much money I earn. This is how much I've got left over at the end of the week to service the loan, and things like that. Sometimes just by being very prepared, particularly if you're going to have a face-to-face meeting, makes things a lot easier for the other person, that they get a comfortable feeling with you. I know a lot of things are done online these days, particularly applying for loans, and I'm old-fashioned. I like the old, face-to-face approach works for me. But, that's the sign of the times. Things are changing and we have to work with those. But it's a year of being able to get organised for each and every one of us. So we also have Mercury, the planet of communication, finally has just gone direct on New Year's Day, and I can hear everybody breathing a sigh of relief. For those that don't understand what a Mercury retrograde is, Mercury goes backwards about 3 times a year, and when that happens, telephones break down, communication breaks down, we lose things don't arrive in the mail, people haven't got their listening ears on, it's not a great time to sign a contract because quite often the details are wrong. It's a time where we really need to be very, very alert about any form of communication. Now, we had that all over the Christmas holiday period, And it's nice to sort of say that we started the new year off with Mercury going direct again. It'll take a couple of days for the energy to sort of settle down and everything to sort of start to really ramp up, and people get back to work and people start to get into the focus of, okay, it's a new year, we're getting back to work, we're starting to get back to business. But this is good because Mercury is sitting in Sagittarius. Now, when Mercury sits in Sagittarius, it means that we want to look at things in a much broader scope. For some people, there'll be more communication with people long distance or overseas. For a lot of us, it'll be about broadening our horizons in the way that we communicate. We might take up some new study or some new hobbies and start to really expand our mind out. Now, Mercury is actually holding hands or conjunct the planet Mars. Now, Mars is the planet that gets us out of bed of a morning. Mars is where our drive comes from. Some people call Mars the planet of war. I don't like to look at it in that way. I just look at Mars as the motivation of why we get out of bed and why we do things, and gives us that oomph to get up off the couch and sort of say, right, I'm going to do something with my life. Now, with Mercury holding hands or conjunct Mars, this is the perfect time if you want to go and get something off your chest, particularly if it's something that's been troubling you for a while. Now that Mercury is going direct, people have got their listening ears on. It's a time to sort of slowly start to ramp things up, to sort of move things into higher gear. And particularly it's a time if you want to look at new advertising campaigns, if you're in business, things like that. The ideas are going to be flowing thick and fast. People are going to be coming up with some innovative, brilliant new ideas. It's like everybody's coming into 2024 feeling very, very fresh, very refreshed up. I think over the last few years where, the world went through COVID and we went through the aftermath of COVID, it's like that's now well and truly in the rear vision mirror. And we can all just focus on getting on with life again, and getting on with life in a positive, dynamic sort of way again, that we can move forward. And that's great. Now, for those that are single, that are looking for a new relationship, Venus, the planet of love and affection, is sitting in Sagittarius. Now, this is the time to get out of your comfort zone, everybody. Get out and about. Do something different. Take a trip. Do something different. If you don't normally go, and join a club, it might be the time to join a club. It's time to step out of your comfort zone. You're not going to meet somebody by sitting on the couch. I know it's very prevalent these days that a lot of people sort of go onto dating apps and things like that to meet somebody. There's nothing wrong with that, but what I'm suggesting to you is broaden your horizons. If that's the only way that you normally try and meet somebody, well, then try and take up a new hobby. Do something different. Join a bushwalking class, or a walking group, or take up 10-pin bowling, or do things that where there's a mixture of there's male and females, not just everybody. If you're a female, that there's just not all females and you want to attract a man, well, then you don't take up sewing classes. There's not going to be too many men in the sewing classes, but you take up things where the both sexes are sort of attending, and that way you've got more of a chance to meet somebody new and to broaden your horizons. It's a time to take a little bit of an adventure. Step out of that comfort zone, take up something that's going to not only exercise your mind, but exercise your body and give you the opportunity to meet some like-minded souls. We have Pluto has been sitting in Capricorn now since 2008. Pluto will come to the end of his reign in Capricorn approximately the 20th of January, or January 20, when he will then move into Aquarius for a very, very long stint there. Now, I want to focus on the tail end of Pluto in Capricorn. I've been banging on about this as long as I've been on the show, that it's a really, really important thing, because in anytime something's in Capricorn, it means it's official, it's government, it's something that we can't ignore. It's something that we need to give attention to, that we need to give it our full attention. Now, Pluto's role is to, some people associate it with the underworld. Yes, it can be that, but Pluto's role is to bring out what's been hidden, is to bring it to the surface and say, okay, you have the opportunity now to transform this. And, the things that rule, that Capricorn rules is big business, government, things like that, but it also rules things like global warming and, things that we need to sort of pay attention to. And I've been going on a lot on this show about, we can all do our small step in helping the environment. Whether you believe in global warming or not, that's not the argument here. But if each and every one of us take a little bit more responsibility and recycle and sort of say no to extra packaging and plastics and things like that, that we don't need, go back to some basic things like, getting our shopping in a paper bag instead of a plastic bag, and, cutting down things like drinking straws and go back to something that we can wash and reuse, or back to paper straws, things like every little bit helps. And it helps with global global warming. It helps, there's weather events happening constantly around the world. And it's, they keep saying the 1 in 100-year flood, the 1 in the 100-year this, the 1 in the 100-year that. We here in Australia, and I live on the Gold Coast, we were told back in November we were going to go into one of the biggest droughts we've ever seen. So we all braced ourselves and thought, okay, we're going to have to re-educate ourselves at when we water the garden. Well, let me assure you, the Weather Bureau couldn't have been more wrong, because from Christmas Eve onwards, we've had the most rain we've had in a very, very long time. We've been fighting storms here every single day. A lot of places around me have had no power for nearly 2 weeks now, and we've had rain, 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 rain. So, the weather bureaus and that don't always get things right. But what I'm saying is Mother Nature is ramping things up, and we all have to start to do something about it. So let's sort of make that as part of our New Year's resolution, that we're all going to try to be a little bit more conscious of the environment. So, we've still got Neptune sitting in Pisces, which is great for all the creatives. It doesn't matter what your star sign is. This is a very, very creative year. Let's not waste it. Let's make the most that we can of 2024. So we're going to take our first caller, which is Janine in Green Bay in Wisconsin. There, sweetie. Do you have a question
Hello.
I can answer?
Yeah.
Janine,
So I would like to know, can you hear me?
yes, certainly, Janine. Can I help you with a question?
Yes, I have a couple of questions, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to contact my ancestors, and I want to find out if I am truly a healer and if I have magical gifts. And then I want to know, if I do, what is the biggest thing that I need to focus on this year that will make the biggest impact in my life for the better?
Okay, Janine. All right, first things first, I don't need to necessarily contact your ancestors to tell you that you are a healer. We all have some psychic ability or some sort of healing ability. It's a matter of whether or not we want to acknowledge it and we want to develop it. Now, that's the first thing that you have to understand, is we all have that. It's like anything. Practice makes perfect. But for some of us, it's a more natural sort of pull towards something like that. And that's what I feel that you're feeling. You're sort of questioning or not, has it come down the genetic lines of my ancestors that I'm meant to be doing something along this line? I feel the calling, I feel the pull. And that's a good thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to chirp in and say, yes, 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 Janine, you're definitely that, or definitely should do this or that or the other. What their role is to help you along the way. And to help you along the way, in not so much as a way of turning up and sort of showing you a sign or moving a photograph to say, okay, Janine, when I move the photograph to the right, that means you've got to take up Reiki. It's not that. It's they're going to help you as you sleep of a night. They'll put ideas into your mind. They'll give you encouragement. They'll sort of help boost up that healing sort of energy. What I'm being shown is I don't know that there's necessarily one particular strain or version of healing that you need to follow. I think what you're going to do is end up with a number of things in your toolkit that will then become your swan song, your signature. It'll be a combination of things. What I keep being shown is fingertips. Now, a lot of people associate fingertips with things like massage, reflexology, those sort of hands-on things. I felt it wasn't that. I felt the magic or the energy, the healing energy is coming through your fingertips in maybe another form. Now, whether that sort of takes on Reiki or whether it takes on hot stones or whatever the case may be, it's not for me to sit here and say you must definitely follow this path. I want you to follow what you're drawn to. What jumps out at you as being exciting, interesting, what excites you. And it may not necessarily be one of the mainstream considered, acceptable sort of forms of healing. That's where you start. It's not necessarily where you start, and it's not where you finish. It's what you gather along the way. And you have a very strong psychic ability as well, Janine, which most people tend to take that and sort of say, well, that's not a healing energy. Well, that's not correct. The two go hand in hand. And quite often by somebody having a psychic reading, they're actually getting a healing as well, because we're healing their emotions or we're healing the things that are troubling them. And that then transfers to the physical body and starts to let things sort of settle down and start to heal themselves. I wouldn't like to put a label on it for you. I want you to sort of just go to what you're drawn to. Have you been drawn to something that a lot of people would say, what's that?
Oh, a lot. everything.
Good. That's where I want you to go.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I have a whole kitchen full of ideas and things that I've already gotten into. I was just wondering if there's a line I should focus on more than one,
No.
or develop my psychic abilities more. And how can I develop my
it's a
psychic
whole
abilities more?
Yeah, I think it's
I'm
a
sorry?
whole package. I think by being disciplined and developing your psychic abilities, and when I say that, it doesn't necessarily have to be formal study. It can be learning to read tarot cards, even if it's just for yourself. It's a matter of that
Yeah, I
point
do
of
that.
focus, of being able to switch it on, switch it off, and to be able to release the energy at the end of the time so that it's not staying connected to you. I just felt it was going to be your psychic ability would lead you to where you need to go. And I feel that you're going to be attracted to what I feel is a number of different energies. And that's where you're going to make up your own unique, we're not going to put a label on it, just like Reiki. Somebody's going to come and have a session with you, and that might involve a reading plus a healing plus here, take home a bag of herbs. So unfortunately, Janine, that's where I've got to leave it. I've only got a limited time on the show. I wish you well with it. I know you're going to do very, very well, and just follow what your gut tells you to do. You won't go wrong. We're going to talk with Tiffany now in Darlingford in Manabota in Canada. Are you there, Tiffany? Happy New Year, Tiffany.
Yes, I am. Happy
Do you
New
have a
Year to you
question I
too.
can answer for you, sweetie?
Just wondered anything about like career, money, anything with life.
Okay, that's a great start to the year. Career and money. I like that start to the year. Look, I know love's important too, but so does finances. Finances make the world go round and make our lives a little bit easier. They are showing me that there's going to be a change of job. So have you been working towards studying or building up some skills towards a change in a job that should come in around March?
No, I've just been a stay-at-home mom for the last 4 years.
Well, there's nothing. Don't apologise for being a stay-at-home mum. That's the greatest job on earth. It's the one that doesn't pay very much, but it's the greatest job on earth. You get paid in kisses and hugs from your children, and that's very important.
Yeah.
But I do feel that you are going to be going back to something, but I did feel as if there was some study or some learning first, and they were showing me March, so I just assumed maybe you were going back to work in March, but I don't feel it's going to be full-time. I think it's going to be part-time, and part of it I felt could be done remotely, could be done from home. It was sort of like a combination of going into a commercial building, but also part of it working from home as well. So does that fit in with what you maybe had in the back of your mind that you might be able to do?
Yeah. Yep.
Good, because I don't want to take away from your mum role, because that to me is the greatest job on earth. And I think, but now I think you're ready to take on something more for you. It's like Tiffany needs something. I need something for me that's just mine. And, but doing a little bit of part-time work, I think, will help that. It's interesting because they're showing me in the second half of the year, Tiffany, from about August on, you're going to bring something else into the equation, which I'm going to say, yes, you'll retain your little part-time role that you're going to do from home and go into work maybe one day a week, but there's something else that's coming in that's going to be more like a hobby. And it's going to start out as a hobby, and you show it to a few friends and family members and whatever, and they say, oh, I'd like one of them and I'd like one of them. And before you know it, this little hobby that you started for just something purely for you ends up becoming quite a nice little sideline business, a sidekick, that you're sort of starting to make money out of that. And I think by this time next year, when we get into the early part of 2025, you'll be sitting there and sort of saying, well, this thing that started out as a hobby in August has grown that fast, it may very well end up being my primary source of income, that in time to come, I might have to look at giving up my actual real job and just focus on this. So I just want you to remain open. It's going to be a very exciting year. It's a good year. And I think there's going to be lots of ideas that are going to be flowing towards you. You've got a lot more energy going into this year than you did last year. So that's a good thing too. So whatever you've been doing or whatever changes you've made, in your eating regime or your exercise or sleeping habits or whatever, keep it up, because it's really starting to pay dividends now, because everything's starting to sort of come together. Is there going to be some changes? What, sweetie?
We actually just moved, so it's been very stressful. Right. So I'm hoping it's coming to an end.
Okay, good, because I was just going to ask you, were you making some changes to where you're living? Because I just felt everything, there was still a few little changes or modifications there. Well, that makes sense if you've only just moved, and it's always very stressful when you move. It's one of the biggest stresses in life. So that'll take a little bit of time to get it exactly how you want it. But I feel very comfortable where you are. I feel like it fits you like a glove, and suits the family, and that's good.
That's good. Good to
It's going to be a good move. It's a positive thing, even though you still feel sort of worn out from it, and there's still a lot of things to do. But once everything sort of settles down, you regain your energy, and they're still showing me you're going into this year with much more energy than what you did last year. So that's a good thing. So I can only say that keep going, Tiffany, because I think you're really right on cue for where you need to be this year. And is your husband sort of happy with the type of work that he's doing?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there could very well be an opportunity there for a promotion for him from about September onwards, but it's sort of going to take him a little bit by surprise. He wasn't expecting it, and he sort of comes home and you think he'd be jumping from the ceiling with joy for it, and he's sort of like, oh, well, I don't even know whether I want it. Well, sometimes we don't always have to take what's offered to us, but I think you need to sit him down and talk to him about it and talk him through it. I think it's just it was so unexpected. He wasn't expecting it, so it was like it took him a bit by surprise. Anyway, Tiffany, that's where we're going to leave it now. We're come to the end of the show. It's really quickly how the shows fly by. Half an hour goes very, very quickly each week. And for those of you that are regular viewers on the show, you'll know that I always leave you with a song of the week, something that either been driving me nuts or something I've been playing or has some sort of significance to this time of the year. And for this time of the year, for me, is always a bittersweet time. It was a time of the year when I lost my husband many, many years ago, my children's father. And this week I want to leave you with his favourite song. That he wasn't a big music person like I was, and I was really surprised when he came home one day with a record under his arm and said, put this on the whirligig machine. He didn't even know it was called the stereo. He said, there's a song there I want you to listen to. He said, because this is how I feel about you. And my husband used to go away to work a lot, and it was a song by Leo Sayer, and it's called When I Need You. So I'm sure there's plenty of people that can associate with this song that, their loved ones are away, or they're missing them, or they've passed over, or might live in a different part of the world for many reasons, whether it's work or health. So I'll leave you with that beautiful song with Leo Sayer from England. He now lives in Australia, and we've adopted him here as one of our own, When I Need You. So until next week, Happy New Year, and may this year bring you all the peace and joy and love and wealth that you can imagine. Bye for now.